Hi everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Paratalk. And on this episode, I am once again joined by the one, the only, the man, the legend, Kevin Eustace. Or Eustace, I got it right. I did get it right. Kevin's joined me, and we're going to talk about what he's been up to, because if I'm not wrong, he's been a bit of a busy man. So let's bring him in and have a chat. All right, Kevin?
Hello there. How are you doing?
I'm all right. You've been a bit of a busy man, haven't you?
I have. So launching a third show, which is fun. And when I say fun, it just means that's a substitute word for procrastination. So it launches on the 27th with 3 episodes. It's called The Deadly Countdown. It's going to look at true crime, mysteries, disappearances. So it's true crime with a paranormal slant, but more in the 80% true crime. And the Deadly Countdown aspect meaning, do you remember that show? I don't know whether I can get copyrighted for this. Probably can. But you remember that show that used to be on Discovery Channel, Seconds from Disaster?
Yes.
And they'd play back like to the disaster. And that was the point. The disaster was the end part, if you like. And it's kind of that sort of theme, quite, it's obviously serious. You're dealing with death. Like, it was a bright sunny day and you start a clock and the sound effects and all that jazz. So more in line with the Dark Paranormal podcast that I do, as in dramatic wise, as opposed to We Need to Talk About Ghosts, which is more me as you hear me now. But because I'm tying it in with 3 episodes that launches on the 3rd episode of the new series of the Dark Paranormal, which launched today. Season 13 launching on Friday 13th, which was a coincidence, a magnificent one when you're doing a paranormal podcast. But it does mean that between now and then, I've got to write 3, well, not only write, but also work out. I've got the music, because I can write music, so sit here all day, write tunes, jingles, and whatever. So the music's all sorted for it. I just need to sort out the format, the script, and basically everything else that goes into a podcast, and then write 3 30-minute episodes and record.
It's a lot of work.
It is, when you're also doing, per week, there's We Need to Talk About Ghosts, the Dark Paranormal, a Patreon for the Dark Paranormal, which is 30 minutes, 2 Patreons for We Need to Talk About Ghosts, which are 30 minutes apiece, and that's within a standard week. So now I've decided to add to that with another show, and the difference being is, whereas everything else that I currently do, this is the challenge, what I've set myself, the We Need to Talk About Ghosts and the Dark Paranormal, they're listener submitted stories. And for We Need to Talk About Ghosts, it's just me, basically, paranormal verbal diarrhea in some form of structure. It's a lighthearted. It's under the comedy improv section, put it that way.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one, society and culture, it's a little bit more dramatic. But again, all that is me editing a listener's story, elongating it when needed, making it sound dramatic when needed, but not changing anything in terms of the actual events, because that's pointless. That's embellishment then. But what this is research. So this is hard, much more difficult than I assumed. But I've not since birth, because people can't read or write till they're 10 or whatever. But ever since I've been able to walk and talk as an adult, like I was in a band previously, and I was the bane of my bandmates' life, because I would do things like, we're on the 13th of October now. I'd say, I'd go and book us a gig for the 21st of October, and they'd say, we haven't rehearsed any songs. And I'd say, but I've booked it now, so we have to do it. And we get there and we'd end up doing a gig because, I've made a promise now. And that's kind of where I'm at with the Deadly Countdown now. I've advertised it, I've branded it, it's out, I've announced it. It needs to take place. It's just now going to be a matter of... Basically, I've shown Pete pictures. You remember when Elon Musk said, "I've got an amazing new car," and then he brought out that thing that looked like, I don't know, like a Tonka truck, and he said it's bulletproof, and somebody shot the window through or something. It could end up a fiasco like that.
Reminds me of a story of a friend when I was at junior school who always said he had a chopper bike. And we were like,
what a weird claim. I have got a chopper bike.
Yeah, it's like, well, come on, Kevin, at school, you either had a chopper or a grifter.
Well, this is true.
Yeah, you were either in the chopper gang or the grifter gang. Although the grifters were quite heavy, they were still up there with the choppers. And none of this tomahawks or chippers.
Yeah. I mean, well, to be honest, I think there's maybe 1 or 2 years difference between us because we were rally burners or BMX.
Oh, yes. And then you were, there was a few years, just a few years.
Just a couple of years. So BMX, everyone had one really, but they didn't. They had a black version,
The rally burners. Those wheels used to shatter, man.
Yeah, they did, yeah. And they were also, if you came off a curb, the bike went up your arse because there was no air in the tyres, more or less. They claimed there was, but there was no difference if you pumped them up or not.
So this kid, he's saying, I got a chopper, haven't I? And we're like, where is it? Well, I don't ride at the school, do I? And he didn't actually talk like that. He didn't talk like a gangster or anything, but I'm just doing that for effect. But he's like, I've got a chopper. And we all went round his house one evening, and we said, well, where is it? Oh, it's in the garage. Dad's not here. He's got the key. You can't go in the garage. And he claimed that it was behind. He had this, and we never saw it. But,
unless you meant like a hand axe, because I'm like,
I goes out and cuts the tree down. I've got a chopper.
Yeah, I've got a chopper. Yeah. Oh, you meant the bike? Yeah. Oh, sorry, I see the confusion now.
They were great. But anyway, you're two up on a chopper, really bouncy, and change gear. Oh my god, that's just instant death. But anyway, so I was going to say, you've kind of relocated, haven't you? Because you've kind of moved out of the home sort of base studio and into a new place now, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I mean, I'm currently not now. I am currently at home now, but only because this what I refer to as the studio is now closed. So basically, there's one really I was going not generic. That's the very wrong word. Iconic. Music shop in Liverpool called Curly's.
Okay.
It's been there since the 70s, more or less. Different locations around town, but it's been there. Anyway, but to get studio space anywhere, soundproof studio space is, as you'd imagine, ridiculous in a city centre.
Yeah.
Especially on a permanent basis. But I buy my guitars from there, because I do music generally anyways as a pastime, so and I trust them. That those sorts of people, for example, we took the car in for an MOT the other day, and the guy said, do you need your right rear tire replacing, but you've passed, but I'd get it replaced. So we went to this tire place, and this guy comes out and says, there's nothing wrong with that, I could sell you the tire, but that's fine. And these are tire experts. The other guy doesn't sell tires. So we went, all right, nice one, fine, thanks. And instantly we were like, well, we'll go back there when we need a tire, because he could have easily took 50 quid off us and sent us on our way, but he didn't. So we thought he's built up some trust. Anyway, back to the point. Curly's music stores like that. I've went in and looked at a £300 guitar and went, can I buy this? And he went, mate, I can give you one which is like that, but it's 150 quid. And, they've talked themselves out of money. So they've always had me trust. Anyway, long story short, they've done me an unbelievable deal in terms of rent. And it means that I've got access between 10 and 6, Monday to Saturday, 6 days a week, which is more than what I need. They've given me a room upstairs, which is completely soundproofed. And it's worked out perfect. Like, I mean, I wouldn't even tell you the rent because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous for a city centre place. Like,
well,
fell on my feet.
What I was going to say was that he's kind of being clever because he's got someone in there. He's getting regular money from it, and it might be at a reduced rate, but it's a regular. It's always going to be coming in, and you're not going to go elsewhere because you know it comes at a premium, and it beats putting a duvet over your head.
Well, this is it, exactly, yeah. I mean, this is the thing, though, this is what really makes me laugh. I mean, in fact, I don't really want to mention prices, but let me put it this way. A mate of mine who's like into the cultural scene, he's an artist in Liverpool and a very successful one, and he's in with, like, cliques of people, and some people I don't like, some people I think are great, some people I don't like. But anyway, he goes, he sent me, and he was trying to do the right thing. He sent me a message saying, and I'll make a name up, say Alan, who runs Blah Blah Studio. I've just had a chat with him, and he said you can have a day's worth of the studio for just 90 quid. And when you're thinking, for a day, 90 quid. And I'm like, mate, like, I'm not far off trebling that, and I've got somewhere for a month.
Yeah.
So no, you're all right, because it's so expensive. If you could, that's why I feel really bad on people who want to start a podcast. I mean, a lot of people grasp it and they understand if you start and you're doing it from your bedroom or you're doing it from wherever you get the least noise. But you will get people who will go like, right, well, maybe you need to rent a studio or rent a space, and they look at they look at the costs and go, friggin' hell, how do people do this?
Yeah.
And it's understandable because, like, if this Alan guy would no doubt would then be like, oh, I can do you a reduced rate for just like $2,000 a month or something stupid. So yeah, you can be out off very easily.
Have you ever thought about going, what's your feelings on, I mean, there's a lot of podcasts now, ghost podcasts, UFO podcasts. They're going into sort of video, and they're doing the whole YouTube, uploading it to YouTube. They got their studio with their comfy sofas and that sort of stuff. What's your thoughts on that? What do you feel about that? Is that kind of the evolution of the whole kind of paranormal and podcasting thing? Is it going to go that way? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm being a bit sort of it's just a pet peeve where people say, I'm a podcaster, but I make videos. Well, then you're a vidcaster. You're not a podcaster. But that's just me being weird. But do you think everything's going to slowly go kind of that way?
I think, I mean, from a sheer looking at like the repurposing the content, as they call it, I think, you know what, he gets slated, but like if you look at someone like Joe Rogan, if you're going to do this, what like you referred to as a vidcast, if you're going to do something like that, I would do it the Joe Rogan route. As in, it's a podcast. He does a podcast. He just films the podcast.
Yeah,
and there's two different things there in terms of. I mean, yes, he's a multi-millionaire, so he's got someone who can do camera shots whilst they're filming the podcast. But in essence, it's a podcast. So I'm not against the idea, but the thing is, I think there is a sort of art form that comes with podcasting in terms of editing, in terms of, especially like, for example, I could never do the Dark Paranormal live recorded. I could do the Dark Paranormal arguably on video, but there'd be no point. It's just me. You talking. It'd be far too much work. It treble the amount of time it'd take to do. But I understand that people do, there's an audience there that algorithm-wise would want to see a face. Like Mr. Bolan, for example. He's done it kind of, when I say he, the people advising him have done it the right way. He's had a very successful YouTube channel. Now, what they've done is Amazon have signed him up to whatever £1 million contract it is to do podcasts. So he just has audio podcasts solely with Amazon through Amazon Music now.
Yeah.
But they've also repurposed all of his old YouTube videos to audio only, which works for him because his YouTube channel was just him talking. So in answer to your question, I don't necessarily think it's the future because, people have other things. Like, for example, I'll go back to the Joe Rogan example. If I'm painting the house, I can have a Joe Rogan podcast on. I don't need to be watching a screen. I very rarely watch Joe Rogan talking to someone because what's the point? You know, do you know what I mean? He's not unless they're referring to a clip and can show the clip. And so I don't know. What I will say is I am looking at doing a pitch for the Dark Paranormal for TV, but not as a drama, as almost like a Crime Watch reconstruction, but a 30-minute one. And also looking at writing. I'm halfway through writing a fictional film, paranormal film. So I'm looking. This is a 2024 venture, obviously, but I'm looking at stretching into that. But I don't know. I think these things come sort of it's like the boiling frog, you know, I know that's a fallacy and it's not a real thing. Because let me tell you, I say this like I've done it, like some cruel bastard. But if you do, if you heat the water up in a frog, everyone says, oh, and it doesn't move. It does. It's not daft. You know, when it's so hot, it jumps out. It doesn't just boil to death. You know, to use that analogy, it kind of feels like that. What takes place, the more things come your way.
Are you going to be covering such cases like missing people who vanish, that kind of stuff?
With the new one, we are the Deadly Countdown. Yeah, we are. Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm only going to do ones that I'm interested in, and the same goes for true crime too. So, for example, I mean, it's a bit of a, this chat's turning more into a lesson in podcasting, which is fine. But so the first 3 shows that I'm going to release for the Deadly Countdown all have a paranormal tinge. So you've got, the first 2 of the 3 do anyway. So the first one's going to be Butch DeFeo, which is obviously the gent who murdered his family at Amityville.
Yeah.
So there's that link. The second one is going to be the Michael Taylor case, which is the demoniac, where he was allegedly possessed, but he wasn't. He was just a psycho. And the third one's the Butcher of Hanover, which is a more historical case. It's still 1900s, but he was also referred to as the Vampire of Hanover. So that's the very, very, very slight paranormal segue. But the idea is to drag over as much audience as I can, ideally, because it's still me. The thing is, people tend to really like me in the tone I do the Dark Paranormal because they fall asleep to it, which is maybe not the best compliment, but that's the feedback I get. So therefore, it's more of that, but it's a different topic. So therefore, it should, in theory, bring over a few of the Dark Paranormal fans. Me doing We Need to Talk About Ghosts, that's a bit more Marmite. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's like me on crack. But and it turns out no one likes people on crack. So I've discovered. So yeah, it's an interesting one.
How dark does the Dark Paranormal go? Are you going to sort of only go so far, or are you going to sort of step over the threshold and do the real scary, mind-bending stuff
for the Dark Paranormal?
Yeah.
So as I say, season 13 just launched today. Well, what we started off doing, as anyone does, you know, the famous cases, your Amityvilles, your this, your that, your Enfields, and then we moved solely on from about, I think, season 3 to listener stories, and they were better because you've never heard them before. 2, some of them are for not like we covered when I say we covered, we had an email in for last season from a laicized priest. Now, I didn't even know the word laicized until I received this email. But basically, he was that's what is you refer to a Roman Catholic priest, right, as when they've asked to give up, and they want to go and do what they want. They still can't have sex, still got to remain celibate, unless the Pope gives them that authority too. But it's got to go to the Pope, this request to be laicized. And you're still always a priest. It's like one of those, it's like the mafia, you know, once you're in, you can't get out. So you're absolved from your duties as a priest, as in performing mass and things like that. But you're not necessarily a member of the lay community. Anyway, the reason he asked was because there was a girl in his locale, in his parish, that he was convinced was possessed. And the thing is, his entire tale, it wasn't gruesome. There was nothing like, there was no jump scares. There was nothing. It was just a very well told, like it had an air of authenticity you couldn't fake, I think. He went to his bishop to seek exorcism, and the bishop told him a confession is just as powerful as an exorcism. And he was like, you're not going to get this girl in a confessional booth. She's, I don't know what to tell you. But they'd sent him to Rome. He'd actually went on one of the courses, if you like, for so many months to study the exorcisms and how you do them and stuff. And he'd been fully trained up because each parish or each diocese even needs an exorcist. It's like that's canon. You need to have a legal Roman Catholic exorcist within your diocese. And their one went, and he stepped up. So he, as the expert, goes to the bishop and says, this girl covers everything, ticks all the boxes. And the bishop wouldn't grant it and said, just give her a confession. And it was basically along the lines of saying, I'm not going to, because apparently the bishop needs to then also, it's all paperwork, I imagine.
Yeah.
But he had to say to someone, there must be something in there, and has she been to the confession? And if you say no, then he'll be frowned upon or something. So anyway, he asked to, something else happened when she turned up at his house. And again, nothing, like no one, he basically walked in, he went to make her a cup of coffee. And this was the build-up of the whole 30-minute story, really. When he came back in, she had turned, or she'd become oppressed, or whatever the saying is, and she had a little like baby with her, like an 18-month-old or something, and she had it held above her head, and he had a glass coffee table, and she was just smiling and saying like jokingly, I'm going to throw it through the glass, what are you going to do about it? And he didn't know what to do. He was like, he was literally like, I need support mentally, like I don't know how to handle this, and he didn't get it, so he asked to retire. And to be fair, they gave him it. They were like, we get you. He said just like, I've went to him back and forth since he submitted his story. And he was like, the bishop was quite good, in terms of like saying, I get it. My hands were tied, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, when you're like, that's pretty damn dark in terms of not just paranormal, but most things like.
I was going to say, when you get listener stories come in and people submit stuff, have you kind of got grown a sort of an ability to know when a story is like, that I think that's made up or that's
100%.
AI?
100%.
Yeah,
100%. I talk about this quite often in terms of, and I use that phrase quite often as well, an air of authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the little things. Yeah, I'll put it this way. Me and my girlfriend went to watch the new Exorcist film the other day.
Yeah.
And on the way back, we got a taxi, which took about maybe 5 minutes to get home because it was raining. And we were like, let's just jump a cab. So he goes, what have you been to see? Exorcist. Oh, do you believe in ghosts? I was like, here we go. So, and yeah, I do. He went, have you ever seen one? I said, I couldn't really, hand on heart, say I have. And he goes, I have. I went, have you? Go and tell us all about it. And within 2.5 minutes, he told us a tale of taking a shortcut through our local cathedral's churchyard or graveyard even. And his partner witnessing an elderly woman stand up from behind a gravestone dressed in all white with a white bonnet tied under her chin. He seen her reaction. He spun around and seen it. This is like as it's getting dark. And all these gravestones, by the way, they're all overgrown. No one's buried there anymore. There's about 70,000 bodies underneath this graveyard because it were not necessarily a plague pit, but there was a lot of Irish famine victims when corpses were just arriving on boats and stuff. And it was a quarry as well prior. Anyway, and there's workhouse kids there and there's all other stuff. Anyway, it's quite overgrown. It's beautiful and scenic, but it's quite an eerie place anyway. So he doesn't know what he's describing was the interesting part. So he was like, because he was a proper Scouser. He was like, oh, mate, like, if he wasn't from Liverpool, you wouldn't understand him. And he was like, mate, she just had on like this white ass. And like, I'm like, and my girlfriend saying, was it bonnet? No, it was like, and he's describing it. And I'm saying, did it tie under the chin? And he's like, yeah, it did you? And he goes, and she had this like white gown thing on, like. So my girlfriend's asking, was it this? No. And I'm basically, what I'm saying to him is, you know, that infamous drawing of John Dee and Edward Kelly where they're doing the necromancy. They bring up a spirit and they're stood in a protection circle, and they bring up a spirit. I'm describing that, which is Victorian burial attire, do you know? And and he's saying to all this. He's saying that's what it was. I'm thinking he wouldn't know that's what he's witnessing, but that's what he's describing. And the other interesting, like, again, air of authenticity. If you're making this up, and you and your girlfriend, and you're making the story up, you and your girlfriend are walking through it, and this thing's rose from behind a gravestone. I said, so what? So was it just staring at you then? And he went, no. He said it was staring off to the right. He said it wasn't looking at us. And I thought, you wouldn't add that in. If you've made up a short story, you're just going to tell someone in the back of your cab, you say it stared at us, we stared at it, and we ran away. He said it was staring at something, and we were trying to look where it was staring, and we couldn't make anything out. And we just like put our foot down and legged it through. And it was that thing. It was that. I thought, that's true. That, you know, I can tell by the additional details which make no sense that you've not questioned.
You kind of know when people are when they're reciting something to you, you can kind of feel when they're actually reliving it in
exactly,
their head, rather than making it up.
And that was it. And when my partner Becca was asking him questions, and he was saying no, you know, it was, you could picture it in his head. You could see him. She was saying, was it like this? He's going, no, it was more like, you know, and you're thinking, if you're putting that much detail into a 2.5 minute story, it's happened. Do you know, especially if, I mean, this lad wasn't, I mean, I don't know, he might be a pure paranormal maniac, but I doubt it. It looked like, you know, he was wearing all the top key clobber. He was a top scal. Like, after he dropped us off, if you went to a nightclub and started going, all right, lad, and bouncing away, I wouldn't be surprised. He wasn't like, he didn't look like me. You know, for example, I got stopped yesterday by a white van driver who were two lads, asked me if I was trying to get on this. What did he say? Am I trying to be Black Sabbath or Russell Brand? Because I look like I'm into ghosts. Do you know what I mean? Is my point. I mean, I just said Yamaha for effect as they drove off, which I didn't really want to do. But anyway, but my point being is that this guy was normal. He, there was nothing about him. It screamed paranormal person.
Everyday guy.
Exactly.
I mean, it's amazing that people who do jobs like that, like taxi drivers and people who work at night, different world, and the world is different at night. It takes on a different sort of persona, and the things that, you know, we're all in bed asleep, and what really goes on out there, it's you know, say it's a different world, it's a different place, and those people that drive at night and, you know, work through the night. Yeah, I used to work at night, and I used to do shift work, and it always you get to about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and it always felt a bit weird.
Yeah.
Bit, you know, maybe because I was falling asleep and I wanted to go home to my bed, but it always just felt a bit weird sometimes.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I do know what you mean about like that. I know you know, people see that there's a horrible thing that I've noticed, not necessarily obviously. It's kind of like it's taboo to say you feel weird or you notice something weird around 3 o'clock, because people start rolling their eyes and saying, oh, what's in 3 o'clock? What's it? And so that, like, you know what? Just because it happens, it doesn't mean it's not real. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I just think I've had that feeling a few times. I mean, I'm not normally awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, but when I used to work nights, and around that time, the kind of, you just feel a bit off, a bit weird, and it doesn't last for long, half an hour, and then it goes away, and you just carry on. But it's a feeling, and maybe it's because I read a lot of paranormal books, and I expect that, you know, time in the morning to feel a bit weird. But maybe it's psychological. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of them things. Maybe I'm just one of the oddballs.
To be honest, I don't think it's down to because you read a lot of paranormal, because you're not new to it. Do you know what I mean? I get it if within the last 12 months you'd started reading up, and you were like, last month you found out 3 o'clock is the witching hour or whatever else, and then I'd understand it. But if you've done it most of your life and you've been into it most of your life, that's not going to be it. Like we touched on it before, about, like, you know, how dark do you go with the dark paranormal. Now, interestingly, and this is no word of a lie, just getting back to feelings. Now, the building that the studio's in it's a Blitz survivor. Like, the shop's either side of it. were some of them are totaled, and there was many deaths. And it's a lovely Art Deco building. It's gone to pot, sadly, but like, for example, it's 3 floors. I'm on the 2nd floor. The 3rd floor is out of use, but there's a spiral staircase that goes up, and there's a glass dome ceiling. Beautiful building, but like really of its time. There's only been twice when I've done that, when I've been there, and Christ, I must have recorded. Well, I'm in there every day anyway, but there's only been twice where I wasn't sure whether it was the story, whether it was the environment or whatever. And remember, I'm only there till 6 most times. One time was when I was there a bit later, to be fair. And I think it might have been that priest story, I'm not sure. But the story that I done for this season, because it being season 13 and it's up to Halloween and all that jazz, we thought we'd cover a couple of more famous cases. So we started with the possession of Clara Jimana Sele from South Africa in the early 1900s. And it's a great case, and it's an interesting case in terms of, the alleged power of the devil, in terms of, the whole, you see a religious object and they'll run the other way. Like, allegedly she was able to receive communion and confession and be possessed. And the reason for it was the thing inside her was so powerful. So it was an interesting case. But anyway, doing that episode took twice as long as any other episode I've ever done. There was a and where people say, there was a feeling throughout. There was a genuine ominous feeling throughout. Now, we've had a bit of bad runs of luck in the family of late. And I'm not putting it down to this story. The last time. It's only happened twice. The other one, I'm pretty sure, was that priest story. There was just something, and I cannot, there's a word for not being able to put it into words. Becca knows it, I don't speak into the qualia. There was a certain qualia to it, a certain, something that just, at Sophia, for example, the power went on the 2nd floor alone during recording, and there's a guy who's got a shop on the 2nd floor, and he was kicking off. He's saying, "Is it you? If you overloaded the sockets?" I was like, "I wouldn't know how to overload the sockets if I tried me." But then there was a time I took my headphones off, and I was convinced. I've carpeted all the walls, and there's a little section behind the door that I've fully foamed up and carpeted, and it's tough to get in. And then there's a curtain in front of that. And I was that convinced that door had opened and someone was stood behind that curtain. I took my headphones off and said hello in a completely calm manner. And then I got a chill down my spine and thought, someone's behind that curtain. And it was, I literally poked it with my umbrella like some cartoon. But honestly, mate, yeah, it was genuinely, sincerely the only episode. And the thing is, it's not like it's a known case. It's as documented as anything else. But it's the only episode, and I'm not saying, and therefore go listen. It's just a standard episode. But my point is, in the recording of it, it's the only episode I was genuinely like, maybe I should just record something else. I don't feel.
Yeah.
There's something's just saying, go on, put it out, see what happens. And it was, you know what? I talked to my sister about something completely different, and she said she had a feeling the other week. She said, and when you get that feeling in your chest that it's 9:30 in the morning in school, and the bullies told you he was going to meet you at the school gates at 3:30. She said, and you've got that heart thing all day, and it resonated with me because that's what it was like. And I thought, am I just going fucking mad here? But it was absolutely, it really, really bothered me. And I'm glad it's out the way and finally released. And I'm saying this, and Becca's probably getting murdered downstairs now. But
that's a good place to end this episode, with that creepy story. We're going to leave that story with everyone, but we're definitely going to get you back and 100% continue this. So, I just wanted to catch up with you and hear what you've been doing, because I know you've been busy, and I know you've had a lot of projects on the go, and it's totally fascinating. I think maybe look into the history of that building where you are, because it sounds like it's got a lot of history. It really
does, and I'm planning on doing something with it for. We need to talk about ghosts for Halloween, even if it's just EVP sessions upstairs on that 3rd floor or whatever. But the difficulty is, I don't think anyone who works there are of a similar mindset in terms of belief, which is annoying. It's kind of like, well, health and safety means you can't go on the third floor. That's why it's shut. So it's like, yeah, I don't care if I fall through the ceiling. Let me try and catch a ghost.
Unfortunately, sometimes it'll be like, well, don't you get messing about in there. I don't want you conjuring up any demons.
Yeah. There's that belief as well.
I got a business here. I got a business to run.
I did to tell you, I'd be like, just before I go, it didn't half make me laugh. I had 3 people within a month email me to say, and this is going to happen, just by sheer coincidence. Email me to say they were listening to the Dark Paranormal, and something happened. Right? Like whether it skipped, whether this happened, whether that. Literally once a day that I read out where I was reading a story on one of the Patreon shows where I say the line, be careful. And he said he had to pull over because I kept saying, be careful, be careful, be careful. He said, and I thought I'd lost the plot. So he pulled over and turned his engine off and turned it back on. And an accident happened just to his right that he would have been part of. And when he turned it back on, he skipped to a few seconds beforehand and pressed play. And I only say it once. And he was like, he knows it's coincidence, but blah, blah, blah. So things like this do happen. And I had a guy get in touch with me and said, because what I said, which is the truth, is that infamous quote, the more you look into the darkness, the more it'll look back. And I believe that. I genuinely do believe that. That's why the thing with Ouija boards and stuff, if you go looking for the homeless people will come and find you, without sounding like a weirdo. But if you go giving fivers out to people on the street, you'll soon have a list of people waiting to come and say hello. And I think it's a similar sort of thing. And so I said that on the show. I said, I've had 4 people. I was literally just being, not trying to build a big thing. I said, I've had 4 people in the last month say that something spooky's happened whilst listening to the show. And I suggested, because it is one of my theories that, when people do Ouija boards and things like that, they're all of a similar mindset, so therefore they conjure up something happening in real life. I said, so maybe it's a case of you listening to the Dark Paranormal, you get yourself to a certain mindset, and that mindset opens you up to be able to see things that you wouldn't have been able to see previously, is also said. And this guy sent me an email saying, I used to really like this show. I'm no longer going to listen, because I feel like you're slowly trying to drag us into a ritualistic experiment. And I was like, what the fuck? No, I'm not. If I was, I'd tell you. I'm not, if I'm going to start a cult, I'd need your permission.
And I got to thank you once again. You will be back. Trust me. Thanks everyone for giving us a listen. And thank you again for staying at the end. Thanks for all your likes and shares and donations, very much appreciated. And until the next episode, we'll talk to you soon.
Cheers, Reeves. Thank you very much, my man.